In this video, I want to share 4 ways that you can use contrasting textures in your garden. So let's get right into it. The biggest concept to understand when learning about plant combinations is contrast. Contrast is simply the scale of how similar or how different two things are from one another. When combining plants, the 4 types of contrast I like to use are color contrast, texture contrast, leaf size contrast, and form contrast or shape contrast. With color contrast, you can combine plants with dark colors and light colors, or just use contrasting colors. Here's a photo from my garden using all purple, but I'm contrasting dark purples with medium purples and light purples. This is before I added the light purple chives to the composition. It's very dramatic, isn't it? And here's an example of using contrasting colors. Red and green are complementary, so when you use them together in the garden, it creates a lot of color contrast. And here's orange and blue. And here's purple and yellow. Again, these are complementary colors. You can also try pairing plants with contrasting textures. So this is just another way to do it. And here's an example of using soft, fluffy foliage like lamb's ear with sharp and spiky foliage like blue fescue. And here's just a close-up of some contrasting textures in my garden. The sedum and the juniper look almost spiky, while the lamb's ears are very, very soft in texture. The key here is to add contrast with the textures of the plants. So in this example, you could see all of the different textures mixing together, and it creates a really nice composition. Size contrast is the next type of contrast I want to talk about, and I'm not necessarily talking about a large plant and a small plant. Think about the size of the leaves of each plant. This is where size texture really clicked for me. Instead of thinking about the size of the plant, thinking about the size of the leaves. Try to find a plant with smaller leaves and combine it with a plant with larger leaves. Like here, the burgundy foliage, the leaves are very, very small, and it's combined with a brunnera, which has really large leaves, almost like a hosta does. And another way to use contrast is in form. So the actual full shape of the plant when it's looked at as a whole. Try using a vertical plant form next to a horizontal one, like in this example, or a vase-shaped one with a spreading one, like in this example. And actually, some of the best plant combinations you'll get are from using multiple forms of contrast all in one composition. So this combination from my garden has color contrast and form contrast, maybe even a bit of texture contrast between the blooms of the salvia and the leaves of the heuchera. The leaf sizes are all about the same, but I am using a lot of different principles of texture contrast. Here's a very, very narrow vertical flowering plum tree with a mostly vase-shaped stand of Joe Pye weed. The forms are contrasting, and also the colors are contrasting with the light versus the dark. You can also use these rules to make your plants flow together instead of standing out from one another. So while you use opposites for the contrast, you can also use these same principles to create more cohesion and unity and flow in your space. So remember this photo from before. While the pink salvia stands out, you can see how the variegated autumn charm sedum in the background goes with that yellow heuchera because it's using that same color and echoing it throughout. Because I use the same color, it created continuity in the space. Not everything can be the star or should be the star. So you have to think about combining plants that have similar features and then also plants that will stand out from one another. When everything stands out, really nothing stands out because there can't be a focal point if everything is different. In this cute combination, the plant form is not contrasted. The alliums are very circular, just like the boxwoods behind them, but that's just on a bigger scale. This repetition of form creates rhythm and flow in your garden. And if you found this video helpful, give it a like. And I have so many other awesome garden design videos on my channel, so I'm going to leave a link to the playlist right here, and I'll see you over in the next video.